On the night of February 15th, the second year of Chongming 1103 AD, during the reign of Emperor Huizong of the Northern Song Dynasty, a loud cry of a newborn baby was heard in Yujiazhuang, Tangyin County, which startled a large bird on the roof and made a few loud cries before flying away. The young man named Yu He and his wife, Yao, were naturally overjoyed and named the child Yue Fei with the courtesy name Pengju. The birth of the fat boy added infinite interest and joy to the family. Unexpectedly, the good times did not last long. In the early summer of that year, it rained heavily for several days in a row, and the tributaries merged, and the Yellow River suddenly became a surging wave. The roaring river water broke through the embankment and swallowed up the villages and farmland on both sides. Tangyin County is low-lying, so it was inevitable. The flood destroyed homes and scattered relatives. When the rolling torrent rushed into Yujiazhuang, Yao panicked and hugged Yue Fei and sat him in a large water tank, letting him drift with the water. The water tank floated along the water flow until it reached Qilin Village, Neiwang County. There was a man named Wang Ming in the village, and his wife Ms. He was a kind person. One morning they suddenly heard a deafening noise outside the door. Mr. Wang hurriedly went out with his servants to check, and then they knew that there was a flood. They found the large water tank where Yue Fei and his mother were sitting by the water, and hurried to rescue them. Mrs. Yu was very sad because she didn't know how her husband was doing. Wang Ming comforted her. "Madam, stay at my house first, and I will send someone to inquire about the situation in Tangyin, and then send you back." A few days later, the inquirer came back and reported, "Yujiazhuang is still flooded, and Yu He is nowhere to be found." Mrs. Yu burst into tears when she heard this, and Wang Ming and his wife could only comfort her. Ms. He said, "Sister, please don't be sad, just stay at my house. You and I are sisters." The next year, Mrs. Wang also gave birth to a son, named Wang Gui. Later, Wang helped Yue Fei and his mother to settle down in another place and provided them with a lot of financial support. Yao took care of the housework, helped others with needlework, supported the family, and raised the children to learn to read and write. Yue Fei grew up in hardship. This year, Wang Ming's old friend Zhou Tong came to visit him from Shaanxi. He asked Zhou Tong to stay and asked him to set up a school in Wang's house to teach his son Wang Gui, and the children of two good friends, Tang Huai and Zhang Xian. The three children were already 6-year-old naughty children. They learned to read and play in the school every day and were very happy. Yue Fei was very envious when he saw them. One day, Zhou Tong went out, and the three naughty children invited Yue Fei to play in the school. Yue Fei also wanted to go to the school, and after Zhou Tong's teaching, he picked up a pen and wrote a poem on the wall. Just after he finished writing, he heard Wang Gui shouting in panic, "The teacher is back!" Several naughty children pulled Yue Fei out. Zhou Tong saw the poem on the wall and was very impressed. He asked Wang Gui to invite Yue Fei and his mother to come and said to Yue Fei, "Did you write the poem on the wall?" Yue Fei replied, "I was arrogant for a moment and stained the wall. Please forgive me, sir." Zhou Tong smiled and said to Mrs. Yu, "From the poem on the wall, your son will become a great man in the future. I want to adopt him as my adopted son and pass on all my life's learning to him. I wonder what you think, madam." Mrs. Yu was grateful. From then on, Yue Fei and his three companions learned more about civil and military strategies under Zhou Tong's teaching. Under Zhou Tong's careful instruction, Yue Fei studied hard and soon mastered the full set of archery techniques. When he was 16 years old, the court held a martial arts competition in Neiwang County, and Zhou Tong took his students to take the exam. On the day of the exam, the first competition was archery. Zhou Tong arranged Tang Huai, Zhang Xian, and Wang Gui to take the stage first. At the sound of a drum, the three of them shot their bows and arrows at the same time, and every arrow hit the target, and the audience cheered. When it was Yue Fei's turn, he asked to move the target 240 steps away. After a round of drums, only the sound of swoosh was heard, and the 9 arrows shot out. All hit the target, and all passed through the same arrow hole. The county lady Li Chun was overjoyed when she saw it. She hurriedly asked the 4 people's teachers to meet, but it turned out to be her good friend Zhou Tong, whom she had not seen for many years. She was even more happy and betrothed her daughter to Yue Fei. Soon Zhou Tong passed away. Yue Fei missed the friendship between his teacher and his apprentice, and he would go to his teacher's grave to offer sacrifices every 1st and 15th day of the lunar month. On the Qingming festival of this year, Yue Fei and his brothers Wang Gui went back after visiting their teacher's grave. When they passed by a grassy hill, a black man suddenly ran out from the grass and shouted at them. "The black devil is robbing us. Give me all your money and get out of here." Yue Fei laughed when he heard it, thinking, "This black man is cute, but I don't know if he has the ability, so I'll give him a try first." He raised his hand and said, "You can ask for anything, but you have to ask my two guys if they are willing first." The two fought for several rounds, and Yue Fei subdued the black man. The man said his name was Niu Gao, and he became a bandit because of a famine. The men had similar personalities and became brothers. The next year, Yue Fei and his 5 brothers went to Xiangzhou to take the exam and achieved excellent results. Jidushi Lu Guangshi wrote to Zhongzhe, the governor of Pengju, to recommend the 5 people to take the national exam. After returning from Xiangzhou, Yue Fei married Miss Li and moved his family back to Yujiazhuang. The 3 officials also moved with their families, and Niu Gao also moved with his mother. After settling down, they went to Pengju to take the exam together. Yue Fei met Zhongzhe, who tested his archery and spear skills, and he was indeed proficient. He also asked him about the art of war, and he answered fluently and had unique insights. Zhongzhe sighed and said, "It's a pity that you have the talent of the top scholar, but I'm afraid you can't win the top scholar this time." Yue Fei was puzzled. Zhongzhe said again, "The current situation in the officialdom is beyond my ability to change. The top scholar has already been decided, and it is Xiaoyang Wang Chaigui." On the day of the exam, Yue Fei and his 4 brothers rushed to the training ground. The chief examiner Zhang Bangchang wanted to sell the champion to the young king of Liang, so he asked him to compete with Yue Fei. The two signed a life and death agreement and came to the training ground. When a drum sounded, Chaigui rode his horse with a knife in one hand, slashing at Yue Fei's head, and secretly took out a hidden weapon with the other hand, hoping to take Yue Fei's life. Yue Fei raised his gun and slammed it hard, and Chaigui's arm went numb, and the knife flew out of his hand. He hurriedly took out the hidden weapon. However, Yue Fei suddenly stabbed him in the armor belt with a gun, knocking him head down and feet up to the sky, knocking him off the horse. Poor Chaigui, his head hit the ground and he died, and he was still holding the dart tightly in his hand before he died. Yue Fei killed the little Liang king in one round. Zhang Bangchang was shocked and ordered the warriors to arrest Yue Fei and ask for punishment. When Yue Fei and his 5 brothers saw that things were not going well, they made a scene in the military training ground and escaped. Zhongzhe argued that Yue Fei and his brothers had signed a life and death agreement. If Yue Fei was killed by the little Liang king at that time, the little Liang king would not be convicted. Zhang Bangchang said with a squint, "Then why didn't Yue Fei die?" He reported to the emperor and dismissed Zhongzhe from his post. Yue Fei and his 5 brothers ran all the way and came to a mountain one day. The mountain was called Hongluo Mountain. There were 5 people on the mountain, including Shi Quan, who occupied the mountain as kings. When they heard that Yue Fei had arrived, they welcomed Yue Fei to the mountain together. The 10 of them swore to be brothers together. Let's not talk about Yue Fei and his men returning to Tangyin to live, studying literature and martial arts all day long, waiting for an opportunity to serve the country. Let's talk about the wolf leader Wanyan Wugada, the leader of the northern Jurchen tribe, who founded the country called Dajin and set the capital in Huanglongfu. Although he governed 6 countries and 3 rivers, the area was vast. But he was not satisfied and attempted to annex the Song Dynasty. He heard that Song Huizong had given the throne to Qinzong and decided to take the opportunity to start a rebellion. So he issued an order: whoever can lift the big iron dragon in front of the hall can lead the army to the south to destroy the Song Dynasty. Princes, soldiers, and soldiers all rushed up and surrounded the iron dragon. The iron dragon weighed at least 1,000 pounds, and they all shook their heads helplessly. At this time, a man flashed out from the palace, and he was seen grabbing one foot of the iron dragon with one hand, shouting, and lifting it up, and lifting it 3 times in a row. Everyone looked and saw that it was the 4th Prince Wushu.